I mentioned before that, a lot of people didn't see Puss in Boots: The Last Wish coming. Like, I didn't see Puss in Boots: The Last Wish coming, to be honest. I saw the first one, loved the first one, and then I saw that the second one was coming out, but in all the advertisements that I saw, it looked different, right? Because of the different animation style and, of everything. And as I understand it, Persichetti, who was one of the directors on Into the Spider-Verse, was brought on to do it, and then you kind of like came in and took over. And so I was kind of like, oh, a new Puss in Boots movie, that looks pretty cool. And so I was invited to this like kind of like screening of it where you could bring your friends and family, and I said, okay, this would be a nice movie to show my daughter. Can't wait to see what's happening. And immediately with the 8 deaths.
How old was your daughter when you saw it?
She was 5. It's like he dies 8 times on screen, and my daughter's like, huh? And I'm like, what?
Man.
And like we both had this moment of like, she goes, is this for me? And I go, is this for me? and we're both just having this moment looking at each other like, I guess we're on this ride. We're locked in now. And then, the wolf shows up and he's terrifying and he's scary. And I'm thinking to myself, the last Puss in Boots wasn't like this. I don't remember it being this dark, this true, this real. And I knew when I saw it for that first time, I was telling everybody, I said, you guys don't know what you're getting into when this Puss in Boots comes out. See Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. It's literally one of the best animated films to come out in a long, long time. So what was the surprise like of seeing people react to this movie for the first time, making them cry, making them have this existential crisis? Is that a good feeling for you, of like making people wrestle with themselves through animation?
It was, and I love that kind of thing where you're like, your daughter's going, is this for me? Like, and then you're like getting giddy. Is this for me?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. One of the cool things in animation is that it's a storytelling device to tell any stories, right? But in Western animation, it has been kind of put in this box in a way.
We're going to talk about that, yeah.
It's for kids, and there's expectations built in. And I mean, Brad Bird talking about it for years, right?
Yeah,
just like it's not just for kids. And
it's
so
a medium to tell these stories.
And so there's always with that, there's a little bit of discomfort when something new comes. But I think for us, like when we were making it, we weren't thinking about like, oh, this is going to shock parents. And like this is going to, make kids cry. Like,
right.
And the cool part, just to share real quick.
Yeah.
We were nervous going into a preview screening where where you have the movie. It's not all the way done, but we're like, we're going to show 300 people that have not seen this and get their feedback. And I'm like, is this thing going to be too scary for this kind of general audience?
Yeah.
At the very end of it, the guy asks like, hey, who liked this movie? And all the hands go up, and he goes, what was your favorite part? And there's this 10-year-old kid who's raised his hand, and he goes, the death wolf.
Yeah.
And he goes, and how this movie's about appreciating your life. And I was like, did he just get the theme?
Yeah. Bullet to the brain, just right there.
And I think the thing we held with us the whole time is like, look, in order to tell this story that is about appreciating life, to feel the light, you got to go to the dark.
Right, of course.
And as long as this feels, when you come out of the theater, like it's a celebration of life, it's joyful, then it's okay to have a little bit of the bumpy ride to get there. And so it's awesome seeing how it kind of inspired maybe some younger audiences like getting engaged with it.
Right.
And then to see, really we found out so much of the success, how the movie just had such long legs in the theater was because of college students going and rewatching it, and we're like, "Thank you,
thank you, college kids."
Yeah. So no, it's like a gratitude, man. It's so cool.
It's something that I want to talk about, and I've found that this will be a great topic for this episode. It's just kind of inspiration and the validation of animation when it comes to it inspiring other pieces of work, right? And when you talked about, in Western culture, animation is usually seen as, it's for kids, take your family to see it, these type of things. When, those of us in the industry know this, we could tell heavy stories, and animation is just a way of like, how do you express that story, right? And so that validation of Ryan Coogler himself, who everyone knows is a master of his craft, is one of the best directors working today, who's making a rated R mature movie about blues music and vampires, says Puss in Boots is what inspires this, right? Everyone's looking at From Dusk Till Dawn, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But Puss in Boots is like a big inspiration to the fact where he does put pen and paper and put your name on there and says, thank you for making this, so that way I can, without this, I wouldn't be able to create this. So when it comes to animation and like its inspiration, I want to know, like, what are some of your favorite animated works that have gone on to inspire other things? Because I could tell you some of mine right now. Like, you know, cool. Like I love Chronicle. Speaking of Michael B. Jordan, I think it's one of his best like roles. It's like one of his first, like, I don't want to say his first role, because I remember, you know, being a guy who watches all of his movies. I watched Hardball. I watched like all his things.
Yeah.
But Chronicle was, I feel like, his breakout role, you know, and directed by Josh Trank. And that one was influenced by Akira, the animation. And I know Akira is like one of your favorite movies of all time.
That blew my mind at a young age.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I feel like it blew all of our minds at a young age, right? Like, I remember first seeing that, and I remember being terrified, right? And, you know, I think I was at that age where, you know, like most people, I've seen only kind of like strictly animated movies that were for kids, you know, with the Lion King here and there where I was traumatized by Mufasa dying. But it was nothing too crazy until Akira shows up, and there's nothing cute about that film at all. Like, it's an epic, it's gritty, it's smooth, it's slick. And watching this live action movie of Chronicle, but if you guys haven't seen Chronicle, please, like, watch Chronicle. It's like one of the, it's so good. And I start like deep diving into the movie, and I was like, oh, Akira is like, it is Akira. Like, that's really, really dope. So like, talk to me about kind of like your inspirations of like, the animation movies that inspire you the most.
Well, while we're on the subject of Akira,
like
let's
get into it. Let's get into it.
Because it's interesting with Akira, where at a young age when I saw it, I think I don't know if I was like 10 or 11 or something, but it was so visceral, like the effects, the love put into like not just how the people were animated, but the environments and everything was visceral. It's something that I didn't know was a big part of that experience at the time, but later grew on me. Is the score. The score.
I'm a score nut, dude. Like, and a good score, I feel, could take a movie from already like an 8 out of 10 to like a 12 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? Like a score to me is like everything, and it fleshes out the world beautifully. Like you said, we all know like the character designs, the backgrounds, the action, all of it is great. But you need that extra juice.
And so much of the time, it is that kind of unconscious glue that you're experiencing, but you don't know. You're not like aware of because it's sonic, and that score, that was a unique, weird thing at the time. They took like the Indonesian gamelan bells. They had this synth. Track.
The synth is like one of my favorite parts about
it. They have these like chants going on, like the chanting. they and later I was like, I love score. It inspires me, like especially when I'm writing and things. And so I was like. Trying to find that composer and more works like that, and I think, and I'm horrible at like remembering facts and stuff, but when I was trying to look, that composer actually came from this kind of earlier in the 70s, this experimental like collective of musicians, and it seems like a 70s thing, right? But out of that they came up with this crazy sound that was in Akira,
right?
And then going forward to Chronicle, like. I remember from the very beginning on that, I was like, it was that premise of what would you do if you got superpowers, right?
Right. Does it corrupt? Will you be corrupted by it? It's like so many great ideas that came out of that. But go ahead.
But no. But, and that's where it goes. But where it started was actually what hooked me. if you're a teenager and you get superpowers,
you start messing around.
mess with
you just
people.
messing with people.
Yeah.
Like the scene in the grocery store where they pick up the bear and she's like, "Oh, stay at school, kids." I'm like, I would do that. Like,
yes, and I think that's what's cool is like you take something that inspires you and then you go, but then you bring you to it. And I love that it became that new thing, and it wasn't. I mean, it got dark, but that it started in a very relatable way.
But it's exactly what you were talking about with Puss in Boots, where when you talk about your work is like you have to go to that dark place in order to appreciate when things are light. And it starts off in that, well, it goes dark because they have to go into this dark cavern
but
to
you
get
have to
the powers.
start the kids where like to know what they've lost.
To know
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and again, I don't want to spoil it for people. It's been like 15 years. You should have 20 years now?
2012?
Don't tell somebody fact check it. 2012?
Like
oh God. Okay. So yeah, about like 13 years. But I'm gonna say it. Michael B. Jordan dies in the movie. He dies. And the reason why it still affects me to this day, because he didn't deserve it. And he was so nice in the movie. He was such a great guy. Yeah. And you only get that when you see his interactions with Dane DeHaan and like that relationship and them joking around and like when they're in the sky and before that pivotal moment happens and he said, "You're my best friend. I'm with you every single day." And then it's just so sudden. And the movie doesn't it changes after that. It never goes back to that lighthearted where kids having fun. These powers are dangerous. And now we're going to answer the question, what are we going to do with this power, right? In a way it takes on that inspiration from Spider-Man of like, with great power comes great responsibility. And Dane DeHaan's character uses his responsibility poorly, right? But you understand because you understand what he's been through and things of that sort. And when I tell people like, yeah, man, like Akira like is the thing that kind of like crafted. It's the reason for why this movie is the way it is. Yeah. But it's still its own thing. And it's you as a teenager watching that, I was like, yep, I get it. I get it. But then it kind of creates this sense of you of like, well, damn, what would I do if I really had these powers if it came down to it? Like, how would my upbringing affect how I use my powers, and I feel like these are things that we don't really think about. That's so cool. I have some more like animation to live action inspirations that we could talk about. So we talked about Chronicle and Akira. This one personally, like I hate having this argument with people. Avatar. It's like inspired by a bunch of things from Dancing with Wolves.
I know where you're going with this.
Fern Gully.
You
know what I'm saying?
That's the story.
And that's the story.
Yeah,
and I grew up on Fern Gully, right? I grew up on it, but I love Avatar. Like I love the world. I love James Cameron's direction. I love the characters. People, I bet you can't name one character from Avatar. Neytiri, Sute, Jake Sully. Like, get out of my face with that, man. Taruk Maktoum, this like you know what I'm saying? I'm just like I love this film so much. And again, it still takes like those themes and whatnot of Fern Gully, like the typical story of white man goes to like an indigenous like land and he becomes one with the people and he's like there's an environmental element to it as well.
Save
like
nature, but the execution
and, exactly.
I got one. Okay, and I have no idea if this is actually inspired by it.
Okay,
but Iron Giant is an amazing movie, right?
Yes.
And that was one of those like transformative, like watching it and going,
yep.
I didn't know a story could do this.
No,
it's
I think
so
it was
fun.
one of my first ones of that too, because it is so fun. And then you go like the Superman moment just guts you.
I didn't see it in the theaters. I remember I just bought the VHS.
Okay.
And it had the little plastic Iron Giant on the case, right?
Yeah, I remember.
So I was just like, I loved animation. I didn't know anything about it, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool! I got a little action figure. I can watch this." And then I'm like, "Oh, this is fun." I'm like, "Oh, dang!" I'm like, "Oh, don't do it, man! Don't do it!" But that story of essentially like a gun gaining consciousness.
Yes,
and
I love that as an elevator pitch.
I choose Born Identity. That's the thing that as he gets his memory back, and he finds out he was a murderer, but now he can choose, and so I'm like,
wait a minute, Iron Giant, Born Identity?
I'm just saying that right now. I don't know if those connect. But
no, but that makes sense though. That makes a lot of sense. Like when you really think about it, it's not obviously people will say like, oh, well, this one's about a spy and it's more action packed and this and this and that. But the concept of, like you said, a gun gaining consciousness,
murder, not knowing their past and discovering at the end like, this is what I am, but I choose to be different.
Thank you so much for watching this clip of Get Wrecked with Straw Hat Goofy. If you guys want to see some more movie talk, other clips, or even watch the full episode, make sure you hit the links in the bottom and also hit the playlist. Like, subscribe, and we'll talk about the next film.